Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the NRS News. I am here today with fellow moderator and official Lou.
Hello.
We're going to be informing everybody on the current team changes and just team news in general for Season 3 and any other kind of big information we have for this upcoming season. There's a lot of changes are going to be happening, and especially with the teams. Teams is a big change that's going to be coming to this upcoming season. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with these drivers and team owners. One of the
Yeah, I
first,
agree.
one of the first noticeable changes, other than just people switching teams, is not only just the car numbers in general. It's also the new points format for the teams. We're coming back again with team owner points, which we did run in season 2, but now that the rules are kind of more modified to help support it, we're bringing it back again, so we can have it'll
Yeah.
be a little bit more official.
Yeah, in season two, everyone was just changing teams, and it was impossible to keep track of who got how many points for which team. But now that these new rules are in place to prevent that from happening constantly over the season.
Oh yeah, it's definitely changed. Last this past season was definitely a big thing with everyone hopping teams, and it was making it very hard to keep track of team owner points in general. But now rules have been put in place. Contracts are now required for every team and every driver, and that driver does have to fulfill that contract. Otherwise, it'd be very hard for them to get back in with another team, at least immediately. There's a lot of limitations set in place to dumb the confusion down.
Yes.
We also have a almost new, completely new lineup in terms of teams.
A lot of
Wait,
changes over the off season. I'll
def.
go first. The first team we're going to talk about is a team that I have a lot of ties to. Short Track Racing, also known as STR. They recently dropped two of their previous drivers. Will and AJ are out of the team after driving for them for part of season two, I guess. And instead, replacing them are Halo and Alex, two drivers who are rookies in this league, but they have experience in other racing series, and both of them are quite talented. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do behind the wheel.
Oh yeah, definitely. Alex is gonna be one to watch. We've caught wind of him in the fellow getting close to partnership, RSCRA. He's both the owner and he also races in D1, which is the top division for that league. We also have, well, as you mentioned, Communist. Communist was the season 2 champion, and won't lie, he had a very dominating season. Won the regular points season championship. Ended up getting the entire championship in general. Pretty much just sweep the season. Still had came home with a good amount of wins to close it off. Came home that season with 4 wins. Closed out the season with a very close, very close actually, finish against Replicator. It was one of the closest finishes in NRS history, and I think honestly one of the best
Uh,
finishes we've had.
oh, yeah, it was a good race, surprisingly, compared to the season one finale. And it was a pretty good finish as well. The teammates going door to door for the championship.
Oh yeah, it's things you like to see. Say, it is a little bit sad thing that we won't be seeing Homestead be the championship race for season 3. We'll be moving the championship race to Rockingham, which
Ooh,
had really good racing there in that
until
race
the
right
last lap.
before, until everybody croaked and lost their driving ability in the last corner.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was a really good race, which Replicator ended up dominating. So It'll be one to watch if he gets his way into the Final Four this upcoming season.
Yes, and Replicator is very talented on short tracks. Kind of goes along with the team name, short track racing. So it's going to be
Definitely.
interesting. He was a bit quiet last year besides his 2 wins. It's going to be interesting to see how he does this year, especially against tighter competition, not only on his own team, but in the whole league in general. A lot of good drivers have entered. So it's going to be interesting to see how everyone does.
He did pull off a few dominating races, those at Dayton, Slinger, and Rockingham. He only won one of those three races, but otherwise he was leading a lot of the laps. He had the most laps led for those, and in a pretty dominating way too. He was able to put a good amount of distance most of the time at those tracks. There was a few times, such as Dayton, where they ended up getting door to door with Communist for Dayton, but ended up powering through, getting the victory there. Rockingham, just late race restart, messed him up on that. Wasn't able to get back to the lead in time. Also, other than less that everybody else also went into the wall with him. Slinger also another, I believe, late race restart that kind of messed him up there again. He's really good on the long runs at those specific tracks in general.
Yeah,
But definitely, short
it's
track racing
gonna.
has a very interesting lineup for next season. Very excited
Yeah,
to see what these drivers are going to be able to do.
I think in terms of raw talent, they probably have one of the better, if not the best lineup. And I'm not saying that since I'm the owner. I'm honestly being genuine. They have a
Yeah,
really good
genuinely, like
team figured out,
we already know.
and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do there with those race cars.
Definitely. Another,
All right.
the next team we have on our list, making with some a little bit of changes to it. We have Big Mac Motorsports (BMM), owned by Berger, driver of the number 86 Toyota. His lineup includes Aspect of the number 12 car. He drove the number 14 in season 2. Wasn't quite able to bring it into the final four. He was our season 1 champion, however. Some people would say it's pretty Mickey. I wouldn't totally disagree with them, but I also wouldn't agree at the same time. I'm right there in the middle.
I mean, I'm not complaining. He was on my team when it
Yeah.
happened, so.
We also have Will in the number 68. He drove the 42 in season 2. Going to see what he can do season 3 if he can work his way back into the playoffs and maybe even see him in a Final Four. You have Berger, the team owner, in the number 86. He currently has the most wins total from season 1 and 2 combined, but ended up falling short at the championship race. Didn't finish as well as high enough as he wanted to bring home the championship. We also have Jack in the number 95 Toyota. He also did not make it to the championship four.
He
Not
did have
what
a good season.
he did though. It
Yeah,
was,
you want to race at Talladega in the playoffs
I think,
as
what
well.
ruined his season was Rockingham, where he ended up being several laps down, and that just pretty much locked him out of the final four, and not
Yeah.
not the race he wanted to have. We also have Jay in the number 3. He is in the part-time car, so he won't be attending every race this season, but he'll still race. Maybe not for a championship, but I'm very interested to see what he's gonna be laying down on the tracks when
Yeah.
these races that he does end up racing in.
And overall, I think this is a BMM team that not much will change from last season. Last season, they ran pretty well. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the team in the middle of the season when a lot of their drivers left for different teams. And they really had a tough time recovering from that. I mean, they really struggled in the later half. Besides those 2 playoff victories for the team, but it's going to be interesting to see how they can develop their drivers. And obviously, Aspect and Berger, they have experience fighting for championships, but Will and Jack Illusion not as much. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team will develop as the season progresses.
We do here have the team owner in the call at the moment. If we could get a little bit of word from him on how he thinks the season's going to go with his team, what he thinks these drivers can do for his team. Berger, if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. I'm here.
So,
Uh,
what do you think your drivers are going to be able to do for season 3? What changes do you think you made for
you
the
know, I
better?
I think signing aspect is gonna be really good because he's had experience in the past, as you said earlier, and he could probably help out the rookies or the not as experienced racers that I have, and obviously making it so your drivers can't leave your team halfway through the season is gonna help me out a lot.
Oh yeah, very understandable. It's a bit frustrating
Yeah.
working
Yeah,
with
yeah,
drivers and having them switch out. It
Yeah, you
hurts the
can tell
team a
us
little
about
bit.
that.
yeah,
But
So your team has signed an alliance with Short Track Racing, aka my
yeah,
team.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that alliance, and how do you think that will help your team compete against other organizations like CNM next
Well,
season?
my team probably wouldn't be good without any alliance, or we'd struggle. But with your team probably has the best roster right now. Your team is, in my opinion, probably the best team right now. And with that,
Nice.
and with that talent, you could help out my guys, and then we could all do good and be better than the
Yeah, I
other
agree.
teams.
Yeah, this alliance will help both of our teams out.
Mm-hmm.
And my main goal is to compete against CNM for next season.
Yes,
And
CNN.
I think that an alliance between these two teams will definitely help
Yeah.
us out with
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Do you think that your team really stands a good chance against CNM and obviously STR? I mean, even though you're alliance, your
Realistically,
your
no.
drivers are still going to compete for that
Yeah.
playoff spot.
Realistically, I could see maybe two of us making it into the playoffs, maybe three, but realistically, I don't think we really stand that big of a chance to the two powerhouses of teams.
Yeah. And also, final question. Do you think that Jay has the potential to become a championship contender
Uh,
for your team?
Probably not. I mean,
Oh, damn.
I mean, if he were to, I haven't seen him race, so I don't really know how he races. Depending on how these, Depending on how he does in the Daytona and like other races, perhaps. I mean, from what I've seen is, from what I've heard from Feed is that he might sign Jay full time, which will be interesting to see.
Sounds like
'Cause-
something Tucker Reaction Racing would do.
yeah,
All right. Is
Jay's
that
gonna be
it for the
interesting.
questions?
Uh,
I don't have any more questions for him.
yeah, I think that's all I have at the time as well.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and
yeah,
good
no,
luck to your
no
team
problem.
this season.
Thanks.
All right.
All right, so another team now we have on our list that was just recently mentioned. We have on our list is Tucker Reaction Racing TRR, owned by Feed in the number 87 Toyota. He is practically a sister team to Big Mac Motorsports, owned by Berger, and his drivers currently fielded is the K Boss driver, the numbers 00. He drove I believe, the 00 last season. Showed up to a
A
few
couple
races
races.
and did really well in most of them. We also have Lucas, who is looking to make a return for season 3 in the number 23. He is currently set on indefinite suspension, but he can appeal on the 31st of January. And basically, what that means is submits, well, an appeal. And if that appeal gets accepted, he can return back to racing full time, no worries. So he will end up missing some of the races in the beginning of the season, not all of them, so he won't be completely out of a championship outlook. But this also does mean he has to do complete tryouts yet again, just to make sure that he's learned what he's need to over this time off that he has. And I think he's going to come back strong after this. It was just a slight incident, not NRS related per se, but it also did go against some rules, so we did have to put some action against that. But that I don't think that's going to stop him, really. I think he's still going to have a pretty good season 3 regardless of the suspension. We also
Yeah.
have in the lineup, we have the number 24 driven by Lightly. Lighty did substitute last season for Sky shortly in the Talladega race. Otherwise, he didn't really race at all last season. Wasn't able to make it to any of them. I think we're gonna have it where he still has to complete tryouts again since he didn't make any appearance last season when he was supposed to. So you might have to redo those. I'll let him know privately in a DM about it, and we can set up a private tryout date. Then the last driver on the list, the owner, Feed, in the number 87. Feed had a interesting season last season. I think
Yeah.
he was
Tell me about it.
he was the best driver at being the worst driver. He did
He's
set,
suspended 3 times.
and Black Flag probably more than that. He also was a moderator last season at one point up until the Las Vegas race, which he was let go from the position.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, probably. But otherwise, whenever he's focused, which I've seen a few times out of him, when he's focused and not in the messing around mood and fooling around, when he's trying to race, he does an okay job of it, though. He does finish better than normal. He doesn't DNF. And honestly, I think if he would do more of that, he could have like either a repeat season of season 1 where he was so close to making it into the playoffs, or he could do even better than that and pull off with not just one win but multiple.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of either taking it a little bit more seriously than just racing just to race, or because a brother in that is racing with it, but it's also like wanting to actually do something for your team and help out your teammates. But overall, I think Tucker Reaction Racing in general, they get everything that they need to do the right way, they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
Also,
And overall, I think that Tucker Reaction Racing is a very interesting team. I mean, they certainly do not have the strongest lineup, I think, in any way, unless you're counting black flags. But obviously, there is some talent on this team, and there's some very interesting drivers. I mean, K Boss was very consistent in the very few starts he made, but he has shown some strength, especially at the super speedway tracks. And Whitey, we haven't seen too much of him yet, so he's honestly basically a rookie. Like, not too much experience on this roster. And then the two veterans, Feed and Lucas. I mean, Lucas is a very interesting driver overall. He has pretty good stats, but he tends to get into a lot of trouble on the racetrack. A lot of incidents, a lot of feuds with other drivers. So it's going to be very interesting to see once and if he does come back from his suspension, um, how he will perform. Obviously, you talked about Feed. Like if he decides that he wants to do better, I think he can put up better results.
oh
But
yeah,
honestly,
definitely.
to be honest, I don't think we're gonna see Tucker Reaction Racing anywhere close to being at the top of the team point standings. That's just my opinion.
I mean, the team in general, I think, is more or less of a mid-pack team, but don't count them out completely, though, just based off of the
Did
drivers
she
on the
leave the
team.
game?
Who did?
I think he left the game.
Well, yeah, just don't completely cut them out. They're not out of it yet, but you may never know. I mean, we haven't seen Lightly race, as he said, so he could end up just being really good in carrying the team with, I guess, Lucas. Lucas has the stats of a good driver. Does he drive good we'll say in general? He has his questionable moments, I think, but
Oh yeah.
he does end up most of the time leading, or at least half the time leading in a, let's just say, a good way that didn't result in him getting some warnings out of it. He had those moments where whenever he got the lead or he was battling with other people, he wasn't getting warnings out of it, which, to be honest, was kind of rare out of him. But the more as he was racing with others around him, he did make some progress in that.
Hey, Xander, you should rejoin the game because right now you're probably just recording a black screen.
Oh no, I'm just recording the disconnected screen. That's interesting. Oh wait, I was idle for more than 20 minutes. That's probably why it
Oh,
kicked me. I see now. Well, I'm still recording it, just not here, let me sit back down in my chair. There we go.
all right. Are you recording the game?
Yeah, I'm still recording everything.
Okay, good. All right. I think that's pretty much all our remarks for TRR. Very interesting team. Obviously, a sister team to BMM.
Oh yeah.
Essentially, we saw last season some consistency from this team at the beginning because they were developing drivers like Rep and AJ before they moved on to other teams. But
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see how they do. Can they develop Lighty and K Boss in the same way they developed those two talented drivers?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a team to watch, especially as they start making more races and even working together too, which I would like to see at least a little bit of that. Haven't really seen much of that except for the beginning of season 2 when you had different drivers that ended up becoming really well working at least together. But now
Yeah.
after TRR, and our next team on the lineup I have is Canadian Motorsports, aka CNM. Team owner is AJ of the number 16 Chevrolet, and his drivers currently at the moment on his roster is Josh in the number 09. We have Sky, who's also in the call in the number 6 machine. AJ himself is also driving in the number 16. And then we have Chris in the number 99, which definitely a very strong lineup. I will say, just like short track racing's lineup. We have a lot of experience right there in that team. Josh.
Yes, and I agree. And in terms of how much talent is on a team, I think CNM is one of the top two alongside short track racing.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
it's gonna be an interesting rivalry. I mean, we've already seen some trash talk between members of the teams. And C&M really was causing a lot of controversy last season, trying to sign drivers, I guess, before they really came into existence. I mean, some of STR's current drivers were rumored to go to C&M, but obviously that never really happened. And it's gonna be interesting. This it'll be a great rivalry. I have no doubt that those two teams are gonna be the two teams fighting for first place in the team standings, and it's going to be interesting. They do have a very good lineup. AJ is an interesting driver. Um, Last season he was very good in the first half. Kind of fell off in the second half, especially during the playoffs. He actually DNF'd the Homestead race. He had to retire due to lag issues, but he wasn't running great anyways. So unless a caution came out, I really didn't see him contending for the win there.
Oh yeah.
Chris and Josh, we haven't seen too much of them. And Sky actually, he is a very good driver. We've seen him in the NRS before. In season one, back when he was on Bass Pro Shops, which is now STR, alongside me and Terry. Sky was one of the top drivers in the series by a large margin. Him and Terry, those two were just so dominant on a week to week basis. So I think Sky definitely has the potential to carry the banner for Canadian motorsports. I think he can contend for a championship if he shows up to a lot of races this year.
Oh
Last
yeah.
season, he only really showed up to like a couple, but he did end up winning the Watkins Glen race, and he ran well in the other races he was in. So he still got it. You know, the old man meme. I still got it. I think that's Sky right now,
Oh
and
yeah.
he's going to be one to watch going into this season. I have no doubt he's going to have a great year. He's actually in the call, so Sky, do you mind answering some questions?
Sure.
What
Why
if
not?
I have a good question
Oh,
for you?
your eyes are gone.
Oh.
He's blind.
Oh, yeah, medical conditions, I'm also pasty white, apparently.
Okay, one of the okay, here. Ooh, I have a good question for you. For
Yes, sir.
season 3 this upcoming season, knowing the drivers that we have coming as rookies, some of them as rookies and others coming back again, such as say Chris and Halo who have well, Chris raced more than Halo, but just the new driver lineup we're seeing in here and your experience from the past 2 seasons of racing. What are your thoughts on how well you think you're going to do in season 3?
I still think I'm gonna do relatively well. There are some of the rookies that from other series that I know are pretty solid, but I've even beaten them over another series they race in, so I think overall I'll do pretty good, given my past experience.
Do you think any of the out of the driver lineup we currently have, which ones do you think are going to be the toughest to battle with, or more or less like, well, I guess, which ones do you think you'll be battling with the hardest?
Uh, Hands down, communist, obviously. Me and him go way, way back. That's very nice. Um, let's see, who all we got? I think if Alex, depending on how much he races, I think he'll be a solid contender. Uh, my team owner AJ, he might be up there a bit, but really just one person, which is communist. That's the main person on my mind.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely whenever we watched at that Thompson, basically most of these road courses that we visited, not even just road courses, races where I've seen you and Communist battle, it's always like a unique battle because Communist doesn't battle the same way he does with other drivers. Like I've seen him battle with you. At Thompson Road Course was no different. When I saw you battling with him, even when you were just either a lap or so down, just even with that, he still treated it like, hey, this is a battle basically for the lead. So not only do you know that you've got a battle with him hard, he also sees you as a driver that he knows you're good, and he also wants to battle the same way. And it's definitely gonna be, I guess, not really a rivalry, but it's like gonna be one of the biggest battles I think for season 3.
I think
If
that
you
counts as
have
a rivalry.
not a rivalry though in a bad way, like
Yeah,
Yeah,
good rivalry,
gotta
friendly
be
yeah,
rivalry,
like a
entertaining.
nice, good, solid rivalry in
little
terms of
friendly rivalry.
yeah. But
All right, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, what do you think your chances are at winning the title? Because this seems to be the most competitive that the NRS has been in a very long time. Do you think you have like you're one of the front runners, I guess you could say,
I
to
mean,
win
I,
this.
I would say I am a front runner. I'd say I will probably make it to the final four. Winning the championship though is difficult because it's that specific race that you have to do really well in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it depends on who I'm going to be against, how the rest of the season's been, if I'm available. Uh, but I think I'll be a contender for it. Not 100% sure if I'll be able to win it though, due to me I've never even winning one before, even though I have countless wins. I've never won championship in road racing. So
Yeah, you can talk to Xander about that one.
yeah.
Oh yeah, those are some good times.
Not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Anyways, I got another question for you.
All right.
So, how do you think you will perform alongside your teammates for the upcoming season? Because obviously, you've had history, I guess good history, like I'm not anything bad.
Yeah.
But you've raced with Josh and Chris before. How do you think you guys are going to work together as you guys run or chase the championship for C&M?
I'm not sure. Chris, he's kind of like he's okay with working together sometimes, not all the time though. And Josh is more like of a standalone guy. Like he'll help you out if absolutely necessary, if it also benefits him. But
Yeah,
besides that, he's more like a standalone kind of guy and does things really like a lone wolf or something.
yeah. Obviously, all of you are very talented, so it's going to be interesting to see who goes far in the playoffs in this
Indeed.
upcoming season. All right, that's pretty much all the questions I have for you. Xander, do you have anything?
uh, I think as a last question that I would have for this schedule that we have formed up for season 3, what kind of, as far as any of the new tracks go, maybe per se, what what tracks do you think you'll, based off of either just knowledge or just being able to run well at that specific type of track, what tracks do you think you'll be able to pretty much just well dominate it over other drivers that you know they may have a hard time at?
Let's see. The new tracks are like Sonoma and Bristol, aren't they?
Yeah, we have, let's see here. On the schedule for next season, some of the new tracks we have is, well, for the Clash, which I guess isn't a points paying race, that's just Avis, a huge track. We also have Michigan. This is for the start of the points paying race. We have Michigan, Kentucky, Sonoma, Bristol, and Pikes Peak, as well as the Thompson Oval rejoining back onto the circuit, and the Charlotte Roval.
Well, in the past, I've run Charlotte Roval. Been really good there. Um, Thompson Oval, I remember when that was first introduced. I hated that track with every fiber of my being, no offense,
Oh yeah.
but it was terrible. Um, Pikes Peak, uh, I've been good there before. You would know, Xander.
I
Uh,
would.
yeah, you would definitely. Uh, so I love that track a lot. Probably my favorite track. Every time I run there, I run good. Although a lot of series don't like to go there, so I haven't gotten to run there a whole lot, unfortunately. But every time I have, I've been up there at the front. Love that track. Sonoma, also a pretty good track. I like the hills. It's a lot of fun. What else? Michigan, Throttle. I don't really care for it too much. It's kind of a boring track to me. I feel like it's gonna be kind of like pack racing there. What was the other one? Kentucky.
Yeah, we have Kentucky, race number 5.
I'm kind of like indifferent about Kentucky. I don't really love it. Don't really hate it. Just can't. Meh.
Just right there in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know
What
if
about
you know. I don't know if you've already known this, but I love Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, he's an advocate for that track.
I love Kentucky.
well, that's you. You stay over there. But yeah, overall, probably like road courses. So we know I'm good at those. My top two tracks will probably be Bristol and Charlotte Roval. That's gonna be my top two out of the new ones.
Definitely gonna watch the racing there. Those are gonna be, in my personal opinion, Bristol and Charlotte Roval. I think if I can get the car set up right for Bristol, it's gonna end up being, in all honesty, a pretty good race. Charlotte Roval, knowing that, well, a lot of leagues try to race there. Sometimes it doesn't go too well. Other times it goes really well. But you know the nature of road courses and roadblocks. They go two directions, or there's not really any middle ground. But for Charlotte Roval, it's not generally a hard track. But some it's challenging. Racing there with everybody is, I think, gonna be good, even better maybe than the Daytona road course. And I know with you racing there, it's gonna make it a lot better. Everybody's gonna be watching you this time to see how you do
Oh, you
and run your
flatter me.
line. But
All right, I think that's it for all the questions.
yeah, I
Alright.
don't think I have any more.
All right, thanks for coming on, Sky, and good luck this season.
Gracias.
Yes, we wish you the best of luck and hopefully get into the Final Four this upcoming season, as we know you did miss that last season. It was just some minor unfortunates, I guess, that led to that. But brand new season, brand new start, a lot of opportunities to get that championship this season.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the next team we're going to talk about is a team owned by none other than Xander. The new
Yes, sir.
team debuting this season. Actually, they made some race starts last season with Zachy, but this is their first full season as a team, and it's NOS Energy Racing, obviously based off of one of Xander's favorite sponsors that he uses on
Hey,
his cars all the time.
would you believe it
And
if I'm drinking one right now?
anyways, we have a very interesting lineup of drivers, a lot of inexperience, but I do think they have the talent to succeed. So the first driver is of the 10 car is Kelp. We've seen almost nothing out of him. I do believe he has raced in other row racing leagues like Pringles in the past. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he does. I'm hoping that he has the talent to succeed, but yet again, I don't know because he hasn't raced at all in this league.
Oh
So
yeah.
it will be interesting. Then next up we have Zachy. Zachy is another interesting driver, and he has a lot of talent. He was good at I believe it was the Darlington race.
Oh yeah,
Led a
Darlington,
lot of
he really
laps.
shined.
Yeah, he finished third in that race. Very good debut for a driver, and I do think he has a lot of talent. He's done pretty well in other racing leagues in the past, and I do think he has the potential to carry the NOS Energy Racing banner. And next up, we have Dog. And yet again, he's another driver who has experience in other racing leagues. He actually won a championship, I believe it was in the RSCRA. So he has a lot of talent. And he did make some race starts last season. Actually, at Daytona, I actually subbed for him and won the race. So technically, he does have a win in the stat sheet. So even though he hasn't raced too much, I do think he has a lot of talent, and it's going to be cool to see what he does on the racetrack, how he can keep up with people that he's raced with in other leagues, and also some of the better drivers in the NRS, like Communist and Alex and Sky and all those drivers. And then our final driver for NOS Energy Racing is Granto of the 88 car. And he's an art driver that we've seen almost nothing out of. I believe he started one race last season, and it was at
That would be a
Slinger,
slinger, yeah.
and he didn't have the greatest time. uh, fell a couple of laps down pretty early, but that's not an easy track to start out at. So I don't think that he's. I'm not going to judge his talent based off of
Oh
that
yeah.
one race. Obviously that's a track just suited for people like Communist and Rep who are good at the short tracks. And it's a tough track to make a debut at. So he's an our driver where we don't know how much talent he has. It's gonna be interesting to see how he does on the track. And our final entry for NER is the 56 part-time car, which I believe yours truly, Xander, is gonna make his first ever NRS start in that car sometime this season. I'm not sure which race. But the owner of the league, can he outrun the drivers? That's going to be the big question going into that race.
Oh yeah.
Probably going to get put in the wall by Lucas. Let's be real here.
Let's be real. People are gonna be targeting, already. I've
Yeah, but
definitely debated on what tracks to run out with everybody, and it's gonna be interesting to see what everybody's gonna think. Not only just think, but what they're gonna do when they see the owner of the league racing right with them.
yeah, it'll be interesting. If you win your one-off race, that'll be very, very funny.
It'll be I guess the race that everybody's gonna be like, oh, it's Mickey. League owner
Rigged.
won the race that he owns. Oh no.
Yeah, and NER as a team is very interesting. I've probably said interesting like 40 million
Oh
times.
yeah, you definitely said it.
But they have a lot of talent. People like Zachy and Dog, and also Xander in this one race that he's gonna do. They have a lot of talent, and there's also the unproven drivers like Granto and Kelp. So it's a very 50-50 lineup. And I do think that some of their drivers are gonna have a shot at making the playoffs if they run the full season. Obviously, like Dog and Zachy do have that potential. And obviously, I have no idea what Kelp and Granto do on the track. So maybe they could have a breakout season, you know? So you never really know what's going to happen. This is a big old wild card team. It's going to be interesting to see how they do.
Definitely. My original plans for NER was, well, get all the rookies together, all the people that want an opportunity, and also ones that I can see them getting into the playoffs with and going after a championship with. Kelp, I've never personally seen him race before, but his tryouts said something different, and I think faith with him going into season 3 is going to be one of those drivers to watch. Honestly, racing against other drivers, I have no clue as of yet, but we'll end up finding out pretty quickly though whenever season 3 gets kicked off. Zachy, he did show off very strong at Darlington. Definitely one of my favorite drivers from there. Ended up leading a lot of laps actually at that race. Not the most laps led, but he was leading a lot of them over drivers who had a lot more experience in the league than him. But also, I guess we didn't really race very much at Darlington either, so everyone was kind of on even playing field. Dog, he did win the D1 championship in the RS CRA. Not even there could just say it alone on the talent. He didn't really race very many races in Season 2, which was technically his open season. He was carried on one win by Lou in the Daytona race. But in terms of him racing, I think if he keeps his head in it and doesn't end up thinking on ditching out only a few races in, like Season 2, if he tries to complete all, even maybe not even all the races, if he completes most, still be happy nonetheless, because that'll be more races than he's completed in the previous seasons and give him a better shot at the playoffs. For Granto in the number 88, I actually won't lie, I actually currently race side by side with him in a different league, but they also use different cars there, so it's not like we were racing in mesh cars, they were in block. But I've seen him race though with other people, He can create rivalries, I will say, but he can also race pretty well. I saw the race at Slinger wasn't his best intro race, and it
Yeah.
was a hard race to learn. I know Replicator, he was able to quickly pick up on it, but for a new driver like Grant making his first start, it wasn't an easy race for him.
I mean, the thing about Grant at the Slinger race was actually he was running all right. Like he wasn't making mistakes. He
Yeah,
just wasn't on the pace very much. He
yeah.
just fell laps down, but he didn't get in anyone's way, and that's the good part.
He was able to not communicate well with other drivers, but I don't mean like talking wise. I mean just how he raced the as he was racing side by side with people, he was showing that hey, I am off the pace. I just want to set some laps down and see how it's gonna be for season 3. So I'm not gonna get in your way, but I'm still gonna race you if I can at all. Which he did have moments at Slinger where he was able to get side by side with people, battle spots, but a lot of it for him was just learning at that track, which I see no problem there at all, because learning is everything to trying to get out there and be the best you can.
Yeah,
Overall, the team's going to be looking pretty well. It may not be a total short track racing status or Canadian motorsport status where we absolutely know they're going to be the dominant teams, but that has that it's that potential, and that's what I'd like to think and keep in thought that that's how the team's gonna be. Give the best idea possible and the best outcome that we can get there with.
yeah. Very interesting team. That's probably the millionth time I've said that.
Yeah, we'll add another tally to your interesting counter.
Yeah. Anyways, so overall, the silly season's been very. I'm trying so hard not to say interesting. God dang it. It's
Unique. How
been
about that one?
very. It's been very action packed. A lot of team changes. A lot of drama in the team changes. People threatening to leave teams. People not knowing what team they're gonna be on. And I think we have a pretty good prediction for what's going to happen next season, with obviously CNM and STR being out front the most in the team standings. But honestly, teams like BMM and NOS Racing could be wild cards. They could just jump into the top spot at any time because both of those teams have a lot of talent behind them. So it's going to be the fight for the team championship is going to be very fun to watch. A lot of competitiveness is going to happen next season, which I'm sure everyone wants to happen. I mean, you don't just want one team dominating every single race, just like
Yeah.
F1. You want some kind of competition, and so in terms of that, we're definitely going to have a lot of competition, a lot of teams of equally matched rosters. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's season 3. It's overall it's not like season 1, definitely. It's also not like season 2. It's its own unique thing, I think. Not only just with all the new drivers, but also just the change in cars as well. I think can also put a play on this. Everybody's gonna be at each other's throats. I think that can be taken in a good way, and that can be taken in a bad way. Because season 2, we saw a lot of people at each other's throats, and that was mostly in a bad way, though. People getting mini rivalries and even major rivalries formed up against each other, especially towards the
Oh
end of the
yeah,
season. Season 3, definitely going to be one to watch. What these drivers are going to be able to put down and overall just show their talent.
I agree. So, what are your predictions for how the team rankings are going to shape out next season?
I think in general, how this is going to go with all these teams is the people that are going to well, I think the people that are going to be forming great partnerships with each other based on what the team lineup's looking up right now in terms of, say, in the moments where they can work together instead of like battling with each other, like say at Daytona, everything's about working well together with your teammates up until those last few moments where, hey, now it's all for nothing. But
Yeah.
I think for short track racing wise, for some people it may be hard to believe. Other people it might be, well, not the quite opposite. I think Communist and Alex, they're going to want to either A, work together, which not a sentence you hear every day, is Communist and Alex working together.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that happen. That would be pretty cool, I think. But either A, they're going to learn pretty quickly that, hey, we're going to need to start working together. Or it's going to become the quite opposite where, hey, I don't think we're going to be able to work together very easily. But it isn't going to be
Yeah.
simply said like that. It's going to probably be said out there on the track that, hey, I don't think we're a good match of working together. We might need to work with some of our other teammates instead, which
I agree.
should be the focus of the whole team working together with each other to get there and secure
Yeah.
every car into the final four of their team, which is
And,
ultimately the
yeah.
goal.
I agree. And if you watch F1, you might know what I'm talking about here. But we might see like a 2016 Mercedes situation between these two. Like Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg were teammates, and they just could not stop like racing each other hard. Like they wrecked each other a couple of times. And I think we're going to see something like that where even though they're teammates, these two are going to be big time rivals out there on the track.
Oh, yeah. That wouldn't be terrible to see at all. That'd be very interesting to see if it will go in that direction. But those two definitely have history together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And other drivers, I think, that are going to at least have good track chemistry. That would probably be... Let's take a look here. I think... I think AJ and Sky, although they had their moment at Thompson Road Course, I think they're just gonna put that behind them. I think they're gonna be working together a lot more. And it's very weird because when you watch Thompson Road Course, that incident they had on that chicane, that was basically just them battling it out. It wasn't really driver per driver, but that really set the tone after that race. Clearly, Sky was upset with AJ afterwards of what happened. He couldn't do anything in that situation. But Sky and AJ, I think those are going to be the two that are going to want to work together the easiest. I know Josh will work with you. But he does prefer to be like working on his own. He has the teammates that can get him up there. But he does prefer to not race solo, but focus on his own racing first.
Yeah.
And then Chris, I know he'll help you when he can. But
Yeah.
Sky and AJ, I think, for Canadian Motorsports are going to be the two that'll be able to help each other out the most on that team.
Yeah. And their personalities are very similar. I mean, neither of those guys have like a massive temper,
Yeah.
both of them are pretty chill most of the time, except for AJ in the championship race. But both of those guys are very similar personality-wise, and I think they can get along together pretty well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But overall, I think that's what this is going to come down with, is just focusing less on everybody battling with everybody and just having an all-out brawl with each other. I think it's not going to come down more to, hey, you're on my team. We're going to work together this race. We're not battle as hard until it gets to that point or we need to. All about the teamwork, I think, this season. Because that's
Yeah.
what we're putting the emphasis on, is keeping the team bond strong. Nonetheless, this season's going to be definitely one to watch. I can't wait to get the season started here soon. A lot of interesting lineup tracks, a lot of tracks with potential that are new to the season, a lot of old tracks that we've had on the schedule that have hosted good racing before, but now that we got new drivers, want to see if we can keep that good racing happening.
Yeah. And
Huh?
overall, I think that we're going to see an interesting fight for that team championship. Obviously, at this point, there are like 10 drivers who I think have a good chance at winning the drivers' championship. But the team championship will be an interesting fight. I think it's going to come down to STR and CNM in the final few races of the season. It's going to come down to consistency. Obviously, I think the biggest problem with STR, and I'm saying this as the owner, is that we might see a lot of inconsistency because Communist and Rep have a tendency to get screwed over late in races. And obviously, Communist and Alex might not work very super well together, so that might cause some issues in our fight for the championship. But overall, it's going to be a very interesting fight between those two teams. And I think CNM is going to use consistency, and STR is just going to use being out in front most of the time. That's going to be uh, the weapons both teams are going to use. And I think NER has a very good chance at getting probably third place, possibly second place if STR or CNM completely struggle somehow. And honestly, they're a bit of a dark horse for the championship. I mean, Dog and Zaki can work very well together. So, if CNM and STR struggle late in the season and the NER drivers are just super consistent, knocking off top fives, wins left and right, they could steal the title. But those are the three teams who I really think have the best chance at winning the title overall. The other two teams, they have their bright spots. Like BMM has a lot of good drivers, but they're not like Berger is really the only great driver. BMM, and I don't see that team really being super consistent. Unfortunately, since they are an ally of STR, that's not something I want to say, but It's going to be very interesting to see how that team performs. And I really don't think Tucker Reaction Racing has the consistency to pull out a championship.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my opinion. What are your thoughts on it?
Pretty much. Yeah, Tucker Reaction Racing, they don't really have the best stats for the outlook of Season 3, but it doesn't mean they can't pull something together to put a shot for the playoffs. Big Mac Motorsports, they're doing, I think, a little bit better in that. They have stats that can prove it. They can get into the playoffs. Some of them have made it. I think maybe all of them, except for Will, made it into the playoffs this past season. And also Jay as well. Jay's a rookie. I think those two are the only two that didn't make it in, but everybody else has made it into the playoffs before. One of them a champion. The other one made it to Final Four. I think I think if they can use what they learned from the times that they've been able to make that much progress, I think they can pull something together again, get into the playoffs, put themselves in that kind of position, go for a championship. Short track racing. If everything goes as planned with them, if Halo, Alex plan on staying throughout the entire season, and not only just even staying, but also competing well in the races, combined with Communist and Rep on their team, I think that's going to be like one of the dominant teams in the season series, because they have everybody on that team has the background, they have the stats, not only from just this league but other leagues, to pull out a championship. And I think a championship's going to come possibly out of that team for the season 3. For Canadian Motorsports, it's pretty much the same situation again. Every driver on there, all of us, probably almost all of us, have seen race extremely well before. They have the stats for it. And they are also a championship contending team. All of them, whether or not they've made it to the playoffs in this league or other leagues for that matter. And I'm not talking like they made it to the playoffs in, say, a league like Pringles where anybody really can, but a league like the RSCRA where you need that talent to get out in there. And all of them have that proof to do that, just like short track racing. So they're going to be in huge contention for the championship as well. All of them has that experience. And for my team, NOS Energy, I think we're going to be in the situation like Big Mac Motorsports, minus a lot of the stats for proof. Like, Dog definitely has the stats just like Josh, Sky, Alex, Chris, Calm Rep, Alex, Halo on short track racing and Canadian Motorsports. So I know nonetheless in a situation for Alex and Halo, if Dog can do same thing, show up to most of the races, if not all of them in Season 3, and not even just do that, but also run really well in them, he's also a playoffs, and even more than a playoffs, a championship contending driver. Kelp and Grant, I know one of them have made a start last season, but they both look like they want to race the full season this season, and I think if one of them or even if both of them are looking like they want to be in the playoffs and they have the potential to be in the playoffs and battle out with them top drivers. Same with Zachy too. Zachy, he definitely has that potential. We saw it out of the race, most of the races he was a part of that from Season 2. He was definitely able to show proof that, hey, Season 3, y'all better watch out. I might be able to get in there, or maybe not even I might. I will have the potential to get into the playoffs, just like, and have that same kind of, future to get in playoffs, get to that Final Four spot, and capture that championship like maybe Communist have and Aspect have before. But I think the top 2 teams we're going to be watching this season, not the ones that we should put 100% of the focus on, but ones that we're going to be seeing maybe a lot up front, is Canadian Motorsports or Short Track Racing. Those are going to be the head-to-head teams. But while those two are battling on, Big Mac Motorsports and NOS Energy Racing are going to be those teams that are going to be right there to pounce on if any of those other 2 top teams mess up, make mistakes. They're going to be right there to clean that up, or even make a big surprise and come out and be on top of them. And then Tucker Reaction Racing, the wild card team, I guess we could nickname it. They're going to be right there to pounce on anything they can.
Yeah.
It's very hard to give like a, I guess this one's going to do absolute crap or this one's going to do absolute dominant, because with every driver you look on these teams, they all have that potential to get into the playoffs. It's just a matter of if they can and how they're going to be able to race to get into there.
Yeah. Overall, I think we're going to see. So, this is, in a lot of motorsports, this is a present theme, especially in Formula One and NASCAR. We're going to see multiple different tiers of teams. I mean, we've already talked about this. But STR and CNM are obviously like the top tier teams. Those two are the teams that most likely will be fighting for the championship. But also, Big Back Motorsports and NOS Energy look to be putting up a good fight for perhaps that third place spot, most likely. And maybe if one of the top two teams struggle, then they can contend for a championship. So we're going to see multiple tiers of teams. And so not only is that fight for the first place spot between CNM and STR going to be fun to watch, but also the fight for the third best team in the NRS between NER and BMM. So we're going to see some rivalries form, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to just add more layers to the overall story that is NRS Season 3.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Definitely gonna be a season to watch. I'm definitely excited for it. I know everybody is excited for it. I know you're excited for it too as well, Lou. And overall, this is just, yeah, like I said before, one to watch, one. It's probably even gonna go down into the record books if everything even goes beyond what we're thinking.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have to cover right now. Is there any?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah. This is, I think, what we've actually been going on for about an hour now.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
that's a lot of stuff, all put into one. But yeah, I think that's everything we have for today. Definitely gonna be looking on tomorrow. We're gonna be having there's some short-term news tomorrow, which is depending on when I upload this, which should be directly after the Homestead race that I will get posted by tonight.
Yeah.
I will say that it will be posted hopefully, if not tonight, in well, I guess it's already tomorrow what I'm talking about, but this will be posted right after Homestead. But in terms of that, testing for the next gen, which is next on the agenda, that'll be done Wednesday, aka I guess what you would call it today, but I don't want to say that. It's weird. It's 12:30 at night, but testing is going to be our next thing on the schedule with these next gen cars, getting them ready for racing hopefully mid-January, at latest maybe the beginning of February, depending on how things go, on availability and that. But we'd like to thank everybody for joining us, or everybody who's watching. I'd like to thank you for visiting on us on this silly season for season 3, how these teams are going to stack up. And yeah, that's all we have for you today.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you guys will want to tune in. Excuse me, I'm stuttering a lot. Tune in to season 3 because it's gonna be very, very fun to watch. And I already know that because there's gonna be so many storylines going into the season, so many rivalries, and a bunch of new races added to the schedule. So it's gonna be very interesting. And hopefully you guys will come along for the ride.
And yeah, that's all we have time for today. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next video, which will probably end up being actually the clash at Avis. We
Oh
thank you for
boy.
joining. This is the NRS News. Thank you. And